Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, August 27th, 2015. I'm Lauren Fraser with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines now has a total of 1,473 cases of HIV, having recorded some 42 new cases for the period January through June of this year. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment Focal Point Director for HIV, AIDS, STIs, communicable diseases and immunization, Ferosa Roach, is expressing concern with the increase in the known number of HIV cases in SVG. Roach, while speaking at a capacity building workshop at the Methodist Church Hall earlier today, says that the Ministry of Health is working effortlessly to prevent the further spread of HIV in SVG.
As a small country and as a ministry, we are quite concerned about the rising incidence of HIV. And in fact, the ministry has been focusing on strengthening the prevention, control and management for communicable disease. It is one of the priority areas in our national strategic health plan. Well, at the end of this training workshop, we hope to enhance the capacity of primary healthcare workers to effectively manage STI and HIV-related conditions.
Roach is encouraging persons with HIV or an STI to come forward and receive treatment. She explains that FAIR plays a significant role in the high number and prevalence of HIV in the country.
HIV, STI, they are treatable, and we should not discriminate against persons because they have an STI. And I guess why we are seeing an increase in this number is because persons are afraid to come out and say that they may be having symptoms and they're afraid to come to the health center, afraid to go to a healthcare provider because of the stigma attached to these diseases. So if we get rid of the stigma and persons feel free and comfortable in talking to people about it, talking to a healthcare provider, they should know that they can get treated, I guess we will see a decrease in the incident, because once you're comfortable, you know you can go to the healthcare provider, get treated.
According to Roach, the stigma surrounding homosexuality also makes it difficult for the Ministry of Health to properly treat homosexuals who are living with HIV and AIDS, as well as to control the spread of the disease.
Because of their nature, persons don't really reveal their sexuality because of the stigma attached to homosexuality. So even if someone is, they may not say to you that I am a homosexual. Just to use a condom with every sex act. Because even if you're a homosexual, use a condom with every sex act. We're not here to tell you to change your lifestyle. We just support persons to have safer sex.
Emira Caribbean Incorporated has dispelled claims that it is presently having discussions with the government of SVG on the subject of acquiring a controlling shareholding interest in the St. Vincent Electricity Services Limited, or VINLEC. Emira, in a media release issued on Tuesday, August 25th, says they are pleased to be partnering with the government and people of SVG to develop a geothermal resource at the foothill of La Soufrière, and adds that a key objective of the project is to move this country away from a dependency on imported diesel fuel to a sustainable energy path based on an indigenous, stable, and affordable resource. Emira says a project of this scale requires many partners to work in close cooperation, and in this regard, VINLEC is playing an important role in the project to ensure the energy from the proposed geothermal plant is delivered to the grid in a manner that does not compromise the safety or reliability of the electricity network. The news release adds that that VIMREX engineers are also engaged and will continue to be involved in discussions regarding the transmission interconnection requirements and other technical aspects of the project. SVG's geothermal project is said to be making steady progress and will soon move to the drilling phase. When completed, the island's geothermal resource is expected to position SVG among the leaders in transforming the Caribbean to a green energy future. The Argyle International Airport, or AIA, today received an additional financial boost of $10,000 from the U.S.-based Friends of the Argyle International Airport, or FAIA. The very appreciative Chief Executive Officer of the International Airport Development Company, or the IADC, Dr. Rudy Matthias, says the new injection of funds adds to the sum of $1,132,000 donated to the airport project by some 395 persons and groups. Dr. Matthias also appealed to other persons to make their contribution to the airport facility, which he says will be of great benefit to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Over the years that we've been collecting funds from Vincentians at home and abroad, we have so far amassed in this account a total sum of $1,132,000 from about 395 persons or groups. And I want to thank, on behalf of the International Airport Development Company, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and all Vincentians, all those persons and groups who have contributed this amount to us over the years. Some persons do send small sums, and honestly we appreciate them very much, because it's not the size of the contribution that really matters. What matters is the thought behind the contribution.
And representative of FAIA USA, Annette Stowe, says the $10,000 contribution was made through a raffle by the organization, which has been assisting the airport for 3 years now.
I think the lucky person, most of them are not the three winners. I think may have only been one Vincentian in the group, so hopefully we'll be bringing some foreigners to our show, and maybe after the airport is open, they can actually land at the airport also. We're quite delighted, and we're hoping that before the airport opens that we'll be able to make further contributions to it. As an individual who works in the tourism industry, this airport has significant meaning, not just to me as a Vincentian. I understand the importance of it to the development of our country, to the expansion of the tourism industry, and to the benefits it would bring to all of us. We wholly and support it, and we will continue to do our best in the diaspora to get as much funds as.
In more from the IADC, the CEO says the newly opened air terminal at the V.C. Bird International Airport in Antigua is some 2.6 times more than the cost of the terminal building at the Argyle International Airport. Dr. Matthias says despite criticism that this country is doing poorly in constructing the international airport, statistics show differently, and explains that the total cost of the construction of the Argyle Airport is now $224 million.
The terminal building for construction and retrofitting cost them US $98 million. US $98 million for the new Antigua V.C. Bird International Airport terminal building. Their terminal building has 240,000 square meters of floor space, which is about 100,000 square feet more than ours, or 105,000 square feet more than ours. They have 4 jet bridges. We have 2. They have 46 check-in counters positions. As I said, we have 26. And they have a sophisticated, according to them, a sophisticated baggage handling system, while we have 2 simple baggage handling systems. So you can see that their facilities are more than ours. In some respects, twice as many as we have. But simple calculation will show you that their cost is 2.6 times ours.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Teachers Union, or SVG-TU, is expressing its dismay over what it has described as the inordinate delay in resolutions of two critical issues affecting its members. The SVG-TU says of great concern to the union is the Elvis Daniel, Addison Thomas, Kenroy Johnson matter. The trio contested the 2010 general elections and were unsuccessful at the polls and are said to have since been forced into unemployment. The SVG-TU says it is now 5 years since the December 2010 election, 3 years since the first court hearing, another election is soon due, and still the matter is stuck in the court system. The teachers union says in the meantime the three men languish in the desert of uncertainty, and the union is therefore calling on the relevant authorities to act post-haste and allow the three men to return to their jobs with retroactive emoluments for 5 years ago. The SVG-TU says it views the response by the state as dastardly and egregious injustice against not only the members of the union but also against the citizens of SVG. Also of concern to the union is the matter surrounding Otto Sam, who the union says was unceremoniously dismissed from his job. The SVG-TU says such action is being viewed as one riddled with spite and punishment in response to a stance that Sam took while performing his task as a principal. The teachers union further explains that the High Court found the matter involving Sam was illegal and irrational. The state, however, appealed the High Court's decision, and the teachers union is now awaiting the decision of the Court of Appeal. According to the union, the matter concerning Sam's dismissal has been dragging on for far too long, and they are imploring the appropriate body to quickly resolve the aforementioned issues so that its members can return to work. The SVG-TU adds that it intends to bring the two issues to the attention of the relevant international education bodies. The 8 Peace Corps volunteers that were today sworn in here have been encouraged to work closely with the country's educators. Acting Country Director of Peace Corps Eastern Caribbean, Sarah Leitner, made the request at the swearing-in ceremony of Batch EC-87 earlier today at the French's house. Leitner says the Peace Corps will continue with its primary English literacy project in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. She notes that equipping local teachers with skills to better impart knowledge will ensure that the Peace Corps project is a great success.
Our second goal looks at partnering with teachers in primary classrooms to provide effective teaching in the area of primary English literacy. And while our second goal, I feel, is a challenging goal, I also feel like this is really the linchpin to our project, because working with the teachers, I feel, is one of the most important things that we can do, because when we do that, we're working with the people who are making the spark happen in the classroom. And this can provide a motivation for our students. And being there to work alongside them in their classrooms is an opportunity for our Peace Corps volunteers to support the hardworking teachers that we have in St. Vincent and throughout the rest of the Eastern Caribbean as well.
Featured speaker at the ceremony, Education Officer for School Inspection, Hannah Brown, thanked the Peace Corps for their cooperation. She, however, recommends that the use of technology be a core part of the teaching tool for students.
Must take into account all the potential opportunities provided by numerous technological advancements, and we must use them effectively to recognize, embrace, and develop all kinds of literacies. In fact, research in the field of technology and education indicates that in this age of information, communication technologies, and increasing global awareness, young people's learning from and with text can no longer be confined to print. Regardless of our personal preferences, the reality is that the effective use of technology has become a critical component of the education process at all levels, ranging from preschool to adult education.
The 8 newly sworn-in Peace Corps volunteers showed that they were already immersed in the culture of this country with the singing of local folk songs. In more local news, as the fight against hunger and undernourishment in SVG continues, this country's agriculture minister is highlighting the importance of the livestock subsector in the fight. Soboto Caesar, the Minister of Agriculture, was at the time speaking at the construction of the pen to house the pedigree stock by the Banana Accompanying Measures, or BAM, project. The infrastructure is estimated to be a $250,000 project, which Caesar says will be expanded in the near future through government funding. Minister Caesar added that in an attempt to successfully address the issue of hunger and undernourishment here, livestock rearing programs must be introduced to able-bodied persons within the targeted population.
But we want to ensure that we have the requisite framework to take hunger and undernourishment to zero. And we want to put in the mix for persons who are physically able to farm, who are in the category, this vulnerable category, susceptible category, for them to begin raising more livestock, chickens as well, poultry, sheep, goats, and in some cases even cattle. In the 80s, early 80s and 90s, you had in the villages persons competing for who had the biggest flock. And at one time, we exported sheep and goats to Trinidad and Tobago.
Caesar says it is also his hope to tap into the $30 million market for sheep and goats in Trinidad and Tobago. He adds that the Rabica breeding center is very essential in ensuring that all the herd and flocks present in SVG are of the best possible quality.
We have a contract with a particular purchaser in Trinidad and Tobago to restart the trade. I have been advised by the FAO, Dr. Lazarus, that there is a $30 million market in Trinidad and Tobago for sheep and goats. And that is something definitely that we want to tap into. And I tie it in with what we are utilizing the BAM monies for, to extend the housing here. We want to ensure that we increase and improve the pedigree of the animals that we have. So many of the animals that we have here are aged, and the breeding stock is not as good as it used to be.
And Caesar vows to put in place even more stringent measures to end the issue of predial larceny, which he says continues to negatively impact the farming community here, and in particular livestock farmers. The agriculture minister says while the livestock subsector holds numerous promises to increase the income generated by agriculture, predial larceny continues to be a very frustrating issue for farmers nationwide.
And we intend to step up the surveillance, because it is very discouraging to farmers after putting such hard work into your animals for someone just to come and rid you of them. And we are going to ensure that we put all our efforts together to ensure that we reduce the impact of this problem on farmers.
Chief Agricultural Officer Ashley Kane is encouraging persons involved in the agriculture sector to embrace the changes that come with establishing standards. Kane made the call while delivering a speech on behalf of Minister of Agriculture Soboto Caesar at the start of the seminar held by the Bureau of Standards on Quality Infrastructure and Agriculture on Wednesday, August 26th. Kane says standards benefit not only the producer but also the consumer, since fee caps should be leveled to ensure there's no over or underpricing.
We all understand what the world would be like if it was all a monopoly. The prices and the costs and so on. And I dare say the social discord and disorder that could result from pricing regimes is worth noting. Secondly, public goods and external effects such as environmental and safety regulation, and social such as pensions and benefits.
The Chief Agricultural Officer says he is pleased with the Bureau of Standards' efforts to bring standards to the agriculture industry, since it dovetails with this country's national plan to increase food production and end hunger.
The agricultural sector, as an integral component of a sustainable development of a national food security plan, and also FAO's Zero Hunger initiatives, is expected to contribute to economic development of rural and urban communities, provide employment, particularly youth employment, and improve the supply of standards and quality of fresh and processed local food for the domestic and export sector. For St. Vincent and the Grenadines, increased food production is one of the strategies being developed by the agricultural sector, and the project will support us as a country in meeting its goals.
The 2015 Lime Internet Summer School has been deemed a success, and the company's manager, Wayne Hull, says he is pleased that the 200 attendees were exposed to learning the fundamentals of the World Wide Web. Hull says over the 11-year period of the program, they have trained approximately 3,000 participants, and adds that the telecommunications provider will continue to connect communities and transform lives through its projects.
The emphasis on the benefits of use of the internet, the functions of email, the use of things that like the search engine. We also have where we introduce the children or the participants to awareness tools such as news, entertainment, and other education resources. An opportunity as well to visit our compound, as you see here, and look at how a telecoms provider operates. There was also some limited introduction to website designs, basic programming, and very importantly, how you defend against cyberbullying, which is a new phenomenon that developed, recently from the use of the internet.
Tutor of the Lime Summer Internet Program, Kahelenia Hamilton, says a career in technology is profitable and advised parents to keep their minds open to what their children gravitate to.
The younger kids, even though you think that they have a shorter attention span, after the end of the week, and we started to review, I said, okay, everybody was a computer, and everybody was able to raise up their hands and tell me. Everybody was able to stand up and tell me they understood the things that we talked about. They really enjoyed the little activities that we did, the movie making, and we do this because we don't find that much film developers in the Caribbean, right? Movie making, things like that, big industry. Animation is a big industry right now. Look at Disney, Pixar, okay? Those companies. It's small people with dreams, and the kids have the creativity, okay? One other thing I like to say is that with the education revolution, there are a lot of available resources out there. There are a lot of things online, not just on YouTube. There are a lot of sites, for example, Allison.com and Coursera.com, that provide information for children, okay? That provide information on maths, different subjects.
President of the women's group at the Triumph Covenant Ministries, Deborah Samuel, says it is extremely important to mobilize Vincentian women to take on their roles as warriors and to further create awareness into the minds of persons that God still answers prayers. Samuel says this will be done through a convention and rally which is scheduled to begin here on Friday 28th and run through Sunday 30th August. Samuel says women usually carry the burdens of society, specifically as it relates to children and finances, and therefore they are encouraged to come together for 3 days of encouragement and spiritual support.
Friday night, we start with repentance, praise, warfare, worship, repossessing and reclaiming the land of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are also going to have the rallies on Saturday, which begins with a march at Heritage Square from 4 p.m. We're going to march through the streets of St. Vincent, and we are culminating back at Heritage Square, where we will hear from speakers. We are also allowing the young people to have a chance and to just speak on behalf of the nation. We are allowing our women, our warrior women, our prophets, our apostles to speak, to declare, to change things, because the Bible tells us the power of life and death lies in our tongue.
Samuel says there is a packed program in place for each night.
Our first step is repentance. We know that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has turned from God. We are seeing before our very eyes, just as it was with Israel, worshipping idols, worshipping other gods, all other things but righteousness is prevailing in our land. Hence the reason for our repentance. We are going into repentance individually and nationally. At the end of our repentance, we are expecting the Lord to show up in this rally.
With just about a week to go before the start of the new school year, former Public Service Union or PSU scholarship recipient Lenell Snag is advising students to be focused and to choose their friends wisely. Snag, who is now a civil servant, was the featured speaker at the handing over of scholarships and bursaries by the PSU on Wednesday, August 26th, and told the scholarship recipients that while change is inevitable, they must skillfully embrace it.
As you get ready for secondary school, be prepared for the change. You are moving from primary to secondary, taking on more responsibilities, more subjects, more teachers, different teaching styles, getting to school earlier, longer class hours, and new friends. It might seem overwhelming, but please try to concentrate and to take everything in small doses. Even at this early stage, remember to pick your friends with care, because the choices you make today will last a lifetime.
Snag also challenged the students to be respectful, as it is an important quality that will help to ensure they go far in their careers.
Oftentimes, I've seen students who come to a tongue school and think, I've arrived. Be reminded that your parents are still your parents. Respect is always due. You must also have respect for your teachers, the elderly, and most of all, your peers and yourself. You are not required to solve issues of conflict or confrontation on your own. Please refer them to your teacher.
A stop and search mission, which was carried out by members of the Rapid Response Unit, or RRU, on the Spring Village Public Road on Wednesday, August 26, 2015, led to the arrest of Kevin Robinson after the motor vehicle in which he was traveling was searched and the discovery of 1,021 grams of marijuana was made. Robinson, who appeared before the Kingstown Magistrates Court today, pleaded guilty to the charge of possession with intent to supply to another. He was ordered to pay $2,000 in 2 months. In default, a 4-month jail term will be imposed. Also in court news, a fine of $5,000 was imposed on Jeremy Jordan of Ashton, Union Island. Jordan was charged with ammunition possession without the relevant license. Jordan was reportedly intercepted by police with 10 rounds of .22 ammunition. Appearing at Her Majesty's prison, Jordan was ordered to pay a fine within 4 months or face a 9-month jail sentence. And finally, in our court news, Raphael Brown Sargent, a 52-year-old laborer of Arnisville, was arrested and charged with attempted arson on the house of his mother, Elka Brown, of the same address on August 25, 2015. The accused was escorted to the Kingstown Magistrates Court earlier today, facing the charge to which he was not allowed to plea as it was late indictable. Police, however, had no objection to his bail, which was allowed in the sum of $3,000 with one surety. The matter was transferred to the Serious Offences Court to be heard on September 1st, 2015, when a date is expected to be set for a preliminary inquiry by Chief Magistrate Rayshan Brown Matthias.